coming back to an event like this, what does it mean to you to be a Penn State alum?
Well, it's great to be around other Penn State alum. They're passionate about their university, and as I shared with the group today, Penn State's really where I found my way. Kind of scuffled through high school and went to the University of Connecticut as a freshman, but when I transferred to Penn State, I kind of found my way and found my calling. So it's a very special place in my life, and so I love to come out and talk to other Penn Staters, and it's nice that they happen to be passionate Bucco fans as well.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on the Nick Colella story? It's a great story, a walk-on, ends up starting, earning a scholarship at a place like Penn State.
Tremendous story, and I need to change what I say to people all the time. My son, as I shared today, my son is a soccer player up at Barron right now. Just finished his freshman year. When he finishes the exams tomorrow, we'll finish his freshman year. Had a great soccer season. People ask me, well, will he go up to University Park? And I say to them, I'm not sure. If he wants to play soccer for 4 years, he's a Division III player. He'll stay up at Barron. If he doesn't, soccer isn't all that important to him, he may transfer up to University Park, because you don't move from being a Division III player to all of a sudden being a Division I player. I have to stop saying that, because Nick Colella obviously demonstrated that it can be done, and not only move from a Division III school to Division I, but to become a captain of the team and a critical member of a Division I team. Great story. Unbelievable. I didn't realize it until I was here today, but I told Nick that I'm going to talk to my son on the ride home and tell him that story.
Okay, and shifting kind of to the Pirates now, they've had some early season success here in April. What's your synopsis on the season so far?
Well, most wins in the month of April since 1992, and we were last in the playoffs, so that's exciting. We were looking to break that record when we hit Milwaukee, but couldn't get that 16th win in April, but had a big win yesterday. I was out there with the club in Milwaukee. Obviously, we've had our challenges in Milwaukee, but to win that last game, take the finale of that series, to come home with a 6-4 road trip after having a very successful homestand, puts us in a good spot. So it's early. The baseball season is a long season. It's real early, but the bats have heated up much earlier this year than they did last year, when we really struggled through April and May. We've got some pitchers who are coming off the disabled list in Francisco Liriano and Charlie Morton within the next week or week and a half, so that's going to provide fortification. So the guys are getting at it. A nice mix of better offensive production and some solid pitching. The bullpen has been stellar all year long. There's some starters that have had some challenges, and that's why it's nice to see these other guys coming off the disabled list. So many challenges ahead, but the guys feel good about where they are and where we're going.
And the Pirates have had a great pitching staff the past couple of years, and one of their highly touted prospects, Garrett Cole, is in AAA right now. What's the timetable on a guy like Cole or Jamison Taillon?
Cole is ahead of Taillon because he's been, he's a bit older. Taillon's been in the system longer, but coming through high school. Garrett really had only 2 starts in AAA last year, one at the end of the regular season and one in the playoffs. The playoff one actually didn't go very well. Had a very nice spring for us, very nice spring, but he needed to get a little more seasoning in AAA with only those 2 starts, and it showed. So in AAA, he's had some flashes of brilliance, and he's also had some games in which he hasn't been able to make it out of the 3rd or 4th inning because of high pitch counts or an unusual number of balls that he's been throwing. So he's developing, he's getting there. He'll tell us when he's ready to go. It could be this year, at some point this year, but if it had to be next year, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either. The key is that he's ready to help the major league team perform at a very high level when he comes up here, and he's working his way through. His last start was very strong, so that was an encouraging sign. Taillon probably about a year behind Garrett Cole. He started this year at AA, and he had only had, I think, 3 starts at AA at the end of last year, so really not much time there. His first 3 starts out of spring training this year at AA were outstanding, lights out. His last 2, he struggled a little bit. So for all of these pitchers, there's a development stage, and there's going to be challenges and struggles along the way. We're really thrilled about both of them making their way up here, and they could really provide a a dynamic 1-2 punch for the Pittsburgh Pirates for a long time. But we want to make sure we're at a point now where at the major league level, we need to compete to win every game, every night. We do believe that we're going to be in this hunt for the entire season, and we want Garrett Cole or Jamison Taillon to be ready to help us to compete and to compete at a winning level before they come up.
And the Pirates have been in the mix all the way until August, the past two seasons. What do you think this year's team differently has done that kind of looks differently than the other teams? What do you think is really going to set them over the edge this year, maybe to make a playoff run?
Well, that's our intent, is to make that playoff run, to finish finally. We talked about finishing last year and didn't get the job done. I think this year we've got more depth, particularly at starting pitcher, which will start to feel as we bring on the Liriano and Mortons as they come off their disabled list. We talked about Garrett Cole could be ready to provide some additional depth with a #1 type arm at some point during the year. And I think Russ Martin acquisition for the club has been critical on both sides of the ball. Obviously, after a little bit of a rough start offensively, we've seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks what Russ Martin can do offensively. He can be an offensive force for us, provides power, provides a great at-bat almost every single time. He'll take pitches, he'll work a count, and he can really drive the ball. And then what he does for the pitching staff and throwing out runners, which we didn't do last year. So I think we're deeper. We're seeing that offensively we're a much better team this year early than we were last year. I think it's something that can sustain itself. Last year we were a very poor offensive team for the first 2 months. June and July we caught fire and we were one of the best offensive teams in all of the National League. And then in August and September we went back to being a poor team. I think we're a much more deeper and more consistent team this year offensively, and a better team pitching, and our bullpen, as I said, has just been fabulous.